Hello, welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe, and this is the news. It is Friday, it is the 8th of September, and it is kicking off at Manchester United. It's just kicking off. There's no two ways about it. It's going mental at the minute at Manchester United. We've got all the stuff, there's literally too much to list, isn't there? Luckily, we do a daily news because otherwise, imagine we did one news a week here at Stretford Paddock. It would be like 40 different news stories this week. I'm so glad we do a daily because otherwise this job would be unimaginable today. So just in the last 24 hours, we have got so much news to bring you. We're going to bring you the latest on the Antony situation, more announcements and revelations going on there. Amrabat as well. There's an injury, then there's a reaction to the injury, then there's all sorts kicking off there. Then the Jadon Sancho situation, which you can see on the thumbnail, has exploded again, a further explosion over the last sort of 24 hours. Responses from the United side of things, sort of anti-Jadon Sancho slander from United or from the United side. Then we've got this kickback from the Sancho side of things about United revealing his mental health issues when they shouldn't have done. It's just, an absolute PR war going on at the minute between Manchester United and Jadon Sancho. And to be honest, the whole situation is just horrendous. And we'll get into all the details on that and get your thoughts in the comments as well. Let's start with the Antony situation then. Here we go. Manchester United star Antony hit with fresh allegations of violent behaviour from two women in Brazil after being accused of assaulting ex-girlfriend Gabriela Cavalin. Antony, already accused of assaulting his ex-girlfriend. The claims are being investigated by the police in Sao Paulo and Manchester. Two women in Brazil have now made fresh accusations against the £85 million winger. United star Antony has been hit with fresh allegations of violent behaviour from two more women. The 23-year-old Brazilian international has already been accused of assaulting his ex-girlfriend on 4 occasions, which is being investigated by police. On Thursday, another two women in Brazil came forward to level accusations against United's winger. Law student Raissa de Freitas claims she needed hospital treatment following an incident in May of last year when she was apparently attacked by Antony. The ex-wife of player Dudu in Antony's Land Rover after the three left Sao Paulo nightclub, and a banker as well has also alleged in an interview with Record TV in Brazil that Antony was aggressive towards her in October. So it says there, he tried to have sex with me and I didn't want to. He pushed me against the wall and I hit my head. Essentially, it's just a nightmare, isn't it, at the minute? Like, obviously these accusations have to be taken very seriously, and as we've seen over the last sort of 18 months with the Mason Greenwood situation, that even if there is, you don't necessarily have to have a conviction for things to become untenable at a club or for someone to leave a club and be suspended. I think at the minute, as there's no sort of charges and there's no trial or anything like that, even in the future, that's planned or scheduled, United are continuing to play Antony. They released that statement the other day, which was essentially, we've seen what's going on and that's our statement. Very strange statement from United. Almost, I guess it makes sense in a way, acknowledging what's gone on but not really passing any comment. No suspension obviously for Antony. He was dropped from the Brazil national team, and obviously because this trial is taking place, or these accusations are taking place in Brazil, maybe the Brazilian national team felt their proximity to the whole situation meant that they had to drop him. And also, of course, he's not contracted to play for Brazil. That is a privilege and something that is a choice of the coach and the team in Brazil. Whereas at Manchester United, he is an employee where he is contracted to play. So the levels of distinction in terms of dropping someone or not playing someone or not, having them in the squad are different for those two things. However, it's just a horrible situation, isn't it? Regardless of what the truth is, we don't know the truth because we weren't there and there hasn't been a trial. It's horrible. And, it's another problem that United have to deal with. It's another situation that is so reminiscent of the Mason Greenwood situation that, you can almost take some level of, right, we've done this before, United know what to do. But then you actually look at the way United handled that. And I think almost anyone, regardless of what you thought of the accusations and the situation with Mason Greenwood, no one thought United handled that well. So now they're in a situation where the only way to handle this correctly is to do it differently to how we did it before. So they've got to come up with a whole new set of stipulations and a whole new way of dealing with this that doesn't replicate the disaster that they've just had. Like, it's just horrendous from a United perspective, from an Antony perspective, from any of the potential victims' perspectives. This is just a terrible situation, and obviously, in terms of commenting on what happened, that's not something that we're going to do until there's, more evidence or any sort of trial or anything like that. I don't think it benefits anyone for us to sort of sit here and speculate on what may or may not have happened. Obviously, we'll read the reports and we'll read anything that's made public about those situations, but just as a situation for Manchester United, it's one that we just don't need, and it's just a crap situation to be in. So that's the latest with Antony. Like I said, any updates we'll bring them to you, and anything that happens on that front we'll bring you here on Stretford Paddock. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Let's move on then to Amrabat. Where's the good news, Alexei? Where is the good news? I tried to bring some yesterday on Off the Bar, and now I come here and do the news, and it's all bad. We don't do good news here, apparently. The news isn't the same. Manchester United suffer injury blow as Sofyan Amrabat pulls out of Morocco squad. If we could just move that box over slightly so I can read the full article. Morocco international signed for Manchester United on loan from Fiorentina on transfer deadline day, but could now be ruled out through injury. Now, this is an injury we already knew about. This was mentioned a few days ago, this sort of minor back injury that supposedly, well, I say supposedly, that is, paining and hurting Amrabat. It seems as though it's kind of just the next step from that. We knew he was injured. They found this minor back injury. Now he's pulled out from the Morocco squad. Obviously, it's not a good sign because, minor injury could mean, well, yeah, he can still play, but it's going to be a bit sore for a few weeks. Or minor injury could mean he can't run for 2 weeks, but he'll be back in a month. It seems as though, obviously, if he's not available to play for Morocco, we're sort of more toward that end of things than he's all right. I just think it's annoying, but we knew this injury was there, and obviously this is just an extension of that. So, just trying to be a bit positive, but it's pretty disastrous at United at the minute, isn't it? If we're honest. The new signing is injured. The other new signing was injured for a long time. The other new signing is injured. But he's just come back. It's just good stuff. And the other new signing is getting slagged off for not being the best goalkeeper in the world. United are doing great. Amrabat, I believe the reports were that they hope he will be back for the return of the Premier League, which is obviously big. Again, that's not been confirmed, but the assumption was he will be ready for Brighton, and this is just a sort of step in the way of that. The thing is, if he's been called up for national duty, he obviously can't be that unfit. He can't be that injured, because if he was, he wouldn't have gone there in the first place. Yes, he's had to pull out, but that doesn't mean it's a terrible injury. Do you know what I mean? If someone like not Luke Shaw, that's a bad example. Mason Mount didn't get called up for England, did he? Because he was clearly so injured he would never be able to play. The fact that they thought he might be able to is a good indicator that he's not that far off being fit. So let's not look at it as too much of a bad thing. He's going to be able to play for Manchester United pretty soon, whether that's the Brighton game, the Bayern game, or the game after that. I think we'll see Amrabat in a United shirt pretty quickly. So, yes, it's frustrating, but maybe we can look at it as he's having a rest and maybe he'll be all right. Let's get into this one then, Jadon Sancho, because there's so much meat on these bones that we need to go through here. So this is the story that came out last night. This is an exclusive to Sami Mokbel for the Daily Mail. Manchester United were not cleared to go public with Jadon Sancho's mental health difficulties last season. Before Erik ten Hag revealed the winger had been struggling in a press conference. So this is the story. United were not cleared to go public with Jadon Sancho's mental health difficulties last season. In December 2022, Erik ten Hag revealed in a press conference that Sancho would be unavailable for a period of time due to physical and mental factors as the attacker battled injury. Sancho spent time training alone in Holland with coaches trusted by the Dutchman following ten Hag's remarks. However, Mail Sport understands they did not obtain permission to publicly confirm his mental state was suffering. Earlier in 2022, Sancho came off social media, sparking speculation over his mental health. We then see He has grown up in the public eye and given his status as one of Europe's most promising players. In February, upon his return for action to United, Sancho returned to social media and posted, "Wow, just want to say a massive thank you for the support I've received over the last few weeks, especially to the fans. Anyway, my focus is to give all to my team and my club. I'm so happy to be back out on the pitch. I'll see you soon." Sources close to United, who insist Ten Hag did not specifically use the term mental health, believe he was being supportive of Sancho in the aforementioned comments and continued to speak supportively of the player during his absence. Now, let's get into what he actually said. So Jay, obviously, who is here at Stretford Paddock, he tweeted yesterday with the actual quote of what Ten Hag said. So he said, "Sometimes there are circumstances with fitness and mood. We got a drop off in quality level, and sometimes you don't know why or what's causing it. That is why we are doing. That is what we are doing now to try and get him back there. It's a combination of physicality and mentality, or physically and mentally." So, firstly, as is mentioned in that article, Ten Hag doesn't say he's having mental health issues. Combination of physically and mentally. Mentally is anything other than physical. If you turn up late for training or you stay up all night playing Xbox, I'm not saying he's done these things, I'm just saying they are mental things. You know, I didn't set off on time because I couldn't be arsed. That's mental. It doesn't mean you're depressed or you're having mental health problems. There are a lot of things that are mental that aren't mental health. And I just think that the alternative is to lie. The alternative is for Ten Hag to say, "Oh, he's injured." But then how does that work out down the line? When someone doesn't play a game for Man United for 3 months because they're injured, someone was going to notice he wasn't playing. He had to say something. So if he's injured, then you go, okay, he's out for 3 months with an injury. That's a pretty serious injury. Is this going to be a recurring injury? Is this going to be a problem going forward? Who knows if Sancho would have even come out and said, "No, I'm not injured." You don't know. We don't know how that angle would have gone. And I just think that the real issue here is this isn't a big deal, but the fact that it's come out at all is clearly the problem here. Jadon Sancho, and a lot of people struggle with mental health, and we don't even, Ten Hag didn't specifically say mental health, but when you put, 2 and 2 together, we've now seen this article which basically confirms it was a mental health problem due to the fact that he was annoyed that, whatever. People have those difficulties and they should be supported, and it's not something that is always a public thing. I understand that. And anyone that is going through something difficult or having a difficult time for whatever reason should be supported, and people should look after them and understand how fragile a situation that can be. However, if he's not playing for Man United for 3 months, people are going to ask why. Ten Hag had to say something, and I think what he said there is essentially the bare minimum. There's a mixture of physically and mentally. That is the bare minimum he could possibly say. He's not had a go at him. He's not criticised him. He brought him back into the team. He gave him, more chances. And no one knows what's going on in Jadon Sancho's life. And I have the utmost sympathy for any reason someone to feel like they're struggling. You don't even have, people go, he's had difficulties here. You don't even have to have had that. Sometimes you just feel shit and there's no good reason for it and nothing bad's happened, but that's how it is. And that is absolutely fine. But at the same time, Ten Hag hasn't gone out of his way to hurt Jadon Sancho's feelings. And the fact that this is clearly seemingly come from Jadon Sancho's side, because it must have done, because who else would know that Sancho is annoyed that they didn't get clearance for this? We are now having this public PR war where it's, some people who work at Man United think Jadon Sancho is a bit shy and a bit, what was the word, a bit rude. Ten Hag shouldn't have said what he's like. We're getting these United having a go at Sancho having a go at United, public battle that is so embarrassing for United that cannot end well for Sancho or United. It's just the situation that really is sad is that we're having this public war. To me, it's a terrible situation. And anytime you have these things going on in the public eye, where your team say this, my team say this, it just doesn't end well. And I don't really see how this ends well for Jadon Sancho at Manchester United. And the other problem that sort of all of this comes back to is he's not really been good enough on the pitch. So you don't even have that benefit of, it's a bit tricky at the minute, but we need to do what we can to make this work because we need his output. We want to see Jadon Sancho in a United shirt. If this was Marcus Rashford, who scores 20 goals most seasons and 30 goals last season, and now there's this back and forth, you think, okay, yes, we don't like it, but maybe we need to find a way through this because, Marcus Rashford is such an asset to Manchester United. Jadon Sancho hasn't been good enough. So then you add all this on top of it, and it just feels as though he thinks his time is over at Manchester United. Because otherwise, why are you doing this? What is going on here? Give me your thoughts in the comments. It's just a sad situation to me. The whole thing is sad. And the fact that it's playing out in public like this is just another thing that Manchester United don't need at the minute. And I think, in defence of Jadon Sancho, these articles that, some of the staff at Carrington think that Sancho's quite quiet and reserved, but then sometimes he's quite loud and confident. Well, that's every human being on earth. Everyone's got a quiet side and a confident side. Like, Jadon Sancho, to me, and I think it's worth pointing this out, it doesn't seem like a bad lad. Doesn't seem like a bad bloke. He just seems like a normal bloke. But sometimes you have to be more than that to be at that top level. Do you think Cristiano Ronaldo is a normal bloke? Like, do you think Roy Keane is a normal bloke? Do you think Nemanja Vidic was a normal bloke? They're like extra. There's more going on. Like, just someone who, turns up with... I'm late for things occasionally. Sometimes I can't be asked doing stuff. But I'm not at that upper echelon of elite level sport where you have to be more than just a normal bloke. Like, that's the problem. I think Sancho is just a normal guy. He seems fine. I don't think he's a bad guy. But you have to be more than that. You have to be a superhuman person to be at the top level of international sport. Like, there's a level beyond that. You can't just be casual about it. You can't, enjoy your life on and off the pitch. It's one or the other. And I think that, what we're seeing from Jadon Sancho at the minute is this. It just seems too normal almost. I know that's a strange thing to say. JAL says, disappointed by Sancho's actions here. People talking about, for Sancho, let's take a look at Garnacho and Rashford. Ten Hag was very honest where they slipped up. They got punished. The public knew what happened and they reacted really well. Yeah, exactly. A lot of people in the comments talking about Jadon Sancho, and Jadon Sancho had talk with his feet on the ground, not online like he has done. I think that's a good point. We want to see it on the pitch, don't we? It's this whole thing of he's lost the dressing room as well, and these reports that other players this, that, and the other. But this is sources from ESPN saying that some players are fed up with Jadon Sancho. This is Mark Ogden. It's not a dig at Mark Ogden, but I just think in any workplace, right? How many people work at Man United that Jadon Sancho is regularly in contact with? 40? The rest of the team, some of the youth players, the coaches, maybe 50 people that is in that kind of real inside circle of the United first team. Like, in any workplace with 50 people, there's going to be 5 people you love, 30 people that you're pretty sound with, 5 people who you sort of stay away from, and 5 people who you're not keen on. I don't even know if that adds up to 50, but you know what I mean. Like, so if you interview the person who doesn't like Jadon Sancho, well, they're going to say, yeah, some of the people in the dressing room think he's a bit mardy or whatever. Like, that's any place in the world. You're not going to get on with everyone. I just think this public war, this public slinging match of, well, he's shit, no one likes him, well, Ten Hag's a dickhead, he didn't respect me, like, just stop. And I don't know where this ends, but we've seen enough times at football clubs, these things tend to end with the player or the manager leaving the club, and I don't see Ten Hag leaving, personally. Anyway, right, that's going to be all from us. Hopefully, we'll be back with some good news. We're going to have Stephen Howson on the channel tomorrow, and also we've got the Brew coming later today as well. So hopefully, even if it's not United related, there'll be something exciting, something fun going on at 4 o'clock today on the Brew. Give me your thoughts in the comments below on Antony, on Amrabat, but especially this Jadon Sancho situation, which is just exactly what United didn't need. And for the first time, maybe ever since watching Man United, I'm glad there's an international break. I'm glad we've got 2 weeks to try and smooth some of this stuff over, because otherwise the last thing you want is, Antony starting at the weekend, Sancho out the squad again, this, that and the other, Amrabat not fit. It feels like United need just take a breath, have a week with no disruptions, no huge controversies, and we'll see you for the Brighton game. But that's going to be all from me this morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Like I said, make sure you check out the Brew and hit subscribe if you haven't already. You got this far into the video. We're right at the end. You clearly liked it. So hit subscribe so you can see our content first. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you in a bit.